This episode is proudly supported by Pepe Sayer Australian Cultured Butter.
At Pepe Sayer, we focus on quality. So if someone comes into your restaurant and they see you're using Pepe Sayer, they know immediately that that is a quality product you've got in front of you on the table. And that comes from a decade of just doing quality butter day after day.
For more information, go to pepesayer.com.au.
The most rewarding thing is because we've got an open kitchen, pretty much everyone who comes in the restaurant has to walk past me and the team at some stage, and everyone who walks past, just about everyone, has something beautiful and wonderful to say, and I'm still surprised every time.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. We caught up with Attila Yilmaz way back in episode 8 of Deep in the Weeds more than 2 years ago. He took us on a journey from his father's Turkish restaurant to a career in the police force and a switch to successful restaurateur. We also spoke of the damage and the uncertainty of the pandemic. And 2 years of that upheaval has resulted in a decision to close the doors of Pazar Collective. Attila, how are you?
I'm fine and dandy, thanks mate. How are you?
I'm good. It's a pretty big decision to sort of stop what you're doing, and I know the last 2 years have had incredible challenges. Tell us about that decision and what's happening.
Well, essentially, it's the whole labour shortage in the country affecting kind of every industry has really hit us hard, like it has many others. We're seeing a lot of other places making the same sort of decision. So ultimately, it's been myself and my two offsiders, Sagar and Manoj, who've been with me for almost 7 years. And one of them is going home for the first time in 4 years come the end of September. And, for 12 months, 2 years now, we've been trying to find chefs, find someone to fill the gaps. And it's just come to a point where we haven't been able to find anyone. And rather than compromise quality and compromise service, I think it's better to go out on top and, shelve Pazar for the meantime and never say never and see what happens, in maybe a couple of years when the country sorts itself out.
Take us through the decision process. How long have you sort of been thinking about this, and what sort of impact has it had on you and making that kind of final call?
To be honest, I've only really been thinking about it probably the last 6 weeks because we were always holding out hope that we would find someone, or at least, one or two bodies to fill that gap in the kitchen. I mean, we do a service of 150 packs with just the three of us. And we do it well because it's an orchestrated dance and we've worked together for 7 years, so we know what we're doing. But yeah, only really in the last 6 weeks, and I'm holding out hope. And when that realization came that we're just really not going to find someone and be able to train them up and get them up to speed in time, I just felt like it was time to call time on it and move on to something and do something different. What, I don't know yet, but yeah.
What sort of impact has it had on you? You've built this incredible offering in the suburbs of Sydney, and it's been your life for so many years. What's it been like processing the last couple of weeks? It didn't really even hit me until I put the post up on our socials to say, to decide what we're doing. And I don't think it hit my kitchen team, Sagar and Manoj as well until we did it. We're all pretty emotional about it. Look, it's just one of those things. I'm comfortable with the decision. I know that I'll go on and create something and do something different. To be honest, the delusions of grandeur and expanding and opening multiple venues, that dissipated throughout the pandemic. And I've realized there are other more important things in life. I've been running this business on my own for the last 3.5 years, and I'm talking from payroll to
to setting up the bar to the kitchen to reservations, the whole lot. And it's taken its toll. I'm tired. I'm unhealthy, and there are some things I just need to focus on. And we'll do that. It's bittersweet in some respects.
You, as we sort of detailed all those years ago, you made that move, from a career in the police force into the world of food and made an amazing impact. But the last 2 years, has it changed your thoughts about your role in the hospitality sector and kind of what you want to get out of it?
Yeah, somewhere along the way, it became a monster. I mean, Pazar, it started off quite small, and the numbers weren't huge, but it was hugely satisfying. And then, with some of the reviews and the accolades, and from people like yourself and the New York Times, it grew into a bit of a beast. At its peak, we were doing 350 people, on a Saturday night. But with a brilliant team and a full, I had a full management team, a full bar team, full kitchen team. So it was possible. And we were looking to expand, and we'd actually signed a lease in January 2020 and I pulled out. I saw what was happening overseas. I didn't like it. And I decided no, and thankfully that we dodged a massive bullet there. So yeah, I initially went into this as a food truck, as you know. That's how I started, and it morphed into a restaurant. And I was just happy to feed a few people, pay the bills, put food on the table at home, and just provide what, the necessities for my family. And I think a big part of me wants to go back to that, and whether that be with a small team, whether it be just on my own doing something, by myself, I really don't know yet. We're just trying to get through the next 6 weeks and see how we go.
The arc of your story in the food industry is quite amazing, from a kid that grew up with a father with a Turkish restaurant, and then into the police force, and then through food trucks, and then bricks and mortar, as you sort of mentioned. Tell us about the food at Pazar and what it started out being and what it sort of turned into over the years.
Yeah, so, it was hugely influenced by my Turkish upbringing, but also from my travels all around the world, not just sort of Mexico, which is kind of what I was known for my Mexican cuisine when I first got out there. It was always about family. It was always about abundancy. It was always about sharing, and in those early days, in that environment, it was a lot easier. As the years have gone on, as everything has increased in cost and price, and it became, I don't know, the passion was all about the food, and then it becomes about the business and keeping it sustainable, and providing opportunities for people and all that sort of thing. But I guess Pazar was always just meant to be just a testing ground for new flavors and different mixes of flavors. I never really wanted to be pigeonholed or labeled as one certain thing. Sydney being as fickle as it is, we love a food trend. We skip from restaurant to restaurant, new opening to new opening, and just to remain relevant and in the scene. I just wanted to be able to. I just wanted to be able to do what I wanted to do and not be locked into one sort of thing. So it's evolved. It's over the years. I like to think, and I'm very proud of my team because they do an amazing job. I think the food has certainly improved, but also I think the key to our success has been just the consistency, that we've always remained consistent with our offering.
one of the key things is that you've been known for is abundance and generosity and just really delicious food that you'd want to eat every day. But are there any dishes or discoveries that you had in the kitchen over the years that you can share with us that sort of typify that sort of global sort of journey that you went on with food?
Yeah, I think if you just look at kind of there are probably 7 or 8 items on our menu that have remained consistent over the years. Probably one of the most popular ones has been the smoked labna that we do. Where we cold smoke our labna, and that's served with, depending on the season, a different type of topping, which is normally sweet and spicy. So at the moment, it's a Persian carrot jam that we put on top of that, and then with that is we've always served, and it always stays on it, is it's a dry salsa that I learned from a lady in Mexico, in LA, called chiltepil. And it's just a combination of sesame seeds, chilies, dried chilies, pepitas, and it's toasted and that's sprinkled on top as well. So you've got the smoky labna, the nutty crunch of the dry salsa, and the sweetness of the thing. So there's a whole gamut of different kind of cuisines and techniques going into one little dish, and it's probably up there with one of our most popular dishes that can never come off the menu. I think it's one of the ones that people talk about the most when they refer to Pazar. That and our lamb, which has remained our hero dish right from day one.
Over the years, do you have any stories of sort of some of the great moments with the team or with the restaurant that you've had?
Yeah, for me personally, I think the most satisfying thing for me over the years and with the people that I've worked with is seeing them move on to bigger and better things, and also being able to provide sponsorship opportunity, and then seeing those people go on and create lives for themselves. And that was something that I found hugely rewarding and amazing. And Sagar, who's been with me for 7 years, he finally got his PR permanent residency granted at the beginning of this year. And this tiny little restaurant in Canterbury has been able to provide an opportunity for people to create a life in this country is probably the most satisfying thing for me. To see people like Alex Martin, who head chefed for me for over a year, who did amazing things with us. To see her go on to the Maldives, and she's the executive chef of a group over there. It's been hugely rewarding seeing those people move on. And we've had some quite young staff over the years who started at 16, 17. To see them, and they were with us for 4, 5 years, to see them finish their uni and then go on and start careers, and some of them start families. Katie Weir, who's instrumental in establishing Pazar with me in those early days when I was just running around like a madman trying to do everything myself. She was my manager, my GM, and she really brought the heart and soul to Pazar, and she's gone off. She's had 3 kids, but she's got a hugely successful photography business now where she does family portraits called the Golden Days Photography. To see those people just going off and growing is amazing. Gizem, who was with me for 5 or 6 years, she was my manager and my right-hand woman in the kitchen. She created the hugely popular Tres Leches cake that we do with me, and see her now as the GM of a massive shop fitting company is just rewarding to see people who've gone on and done bigger and greater things, and they've all really contributed to what Pazar is today.
The Sydney suburbs is rich with all sorts of different cultures and cuisines, but a lot of the food media attention sort of drifts towards the CBD and the sort of bigger sort of restaurants. Well, what's been the benefits and the challenges of opening something like Pazar in Canterbury and garnering so much support from people as well?
It's funny. We've been there for 8 years. I've been on that site probably for 10 years, and still 85% of my clientele and business still comes from out of the area. It's still from the eastern suburbs, city fringe, the north, south. Even during those lockdowns in 2020, when we were doing our drive-through at the back, there were people driving from Bondi, from the North Shore to come and get takeaway, which was hugely satisfying. Funnily enough, a lot of the locals still do not know we're there. We were only again discovered by someone in the apartment complex across the road who's lived there for 3 years this time, and they didn't even know we were there until we announced that they were closing. But yeah, look, being in the suburbs is I always wanted to just create a space that had a reputation based on its food and not its fit out. And that was always the challenge for me. And I think I've said before, when we first started, we didn't even have any signage, and I blacked out the windows. That's how I wanted it to be. And it's been hugely rewarding to see people willing to travel and to come out. And in recent months, people are venturing out of their areas again. I think lockdowns really kind of made people insular and allowed people to discover their own area. But I think now, as we're getting on, people are starting to explore again. We've seen a huge upsurge in the last kind of 3 months, uptake, and bookings are increasing, and it's going back to what it used to be. But with the small team that I have, we're only doing 3 nights a week, and hugely limiting our reservations. I've taken 70 seats out of the restaurant just so we don't look like we're half empty, because that's all we can service. So yeah, but being in suburbs has been great. It's been great to be recognised and to have created something, and not on my own. It's not me. I couldn't have done it without all the people I've worked with over the years. But and we're very proud of what we've done.
When we caught up 2 years ago, you recognised the sort of work-life balance that wasn't in your life, and the yearning to sort of find that, but the challenges of it as a hospitality professional. You mentioned just before how tired you are of the constant sort of upheaval of the last 2 years. Tell me about that work-life balance and sort of where you're at and what you're looking for.
Yeah, so in 2019, I made a big decision to drop from 5 nights to 4 nights, just to create work-life balance, more so for my team than for myself. And that was probably the best decision I ever made, because doing 4 nights and giving my team 3 days off a week, it's just, that's why they've been with me for so long. And it makes a happy work environment. Yeah, behind the scenes, I might be a little bit more stressed and everything like that, but I can hide that and do whatever. And plus, out of necessity. Look, I've realised that the kids grow up really fast. My son's 9, my daughter's 12. In those first initial years, I was just immersed in the business. So I missed a lot of those beautiful years. The 2, 3, 4 years when they're and that's a regret, and I don't want to miss any more of that. So, being around family and spending more time with them has become hugely more important to me. As far as the challenges go, it's moving forward. It's just a really tough market at the moment. I think the industry I think there's a huge oversupply of restaurants and cafes and bars, and there are constant new openings. I think as an independent operator on my own, it's very hard to compete with the large groups, the Merivales, the Solitels, the Loundy groups. We just can't offer. And I can't offer what a Merivale would offer. I can't offer the HR, the training, the support, the career progression, the 70 venues with 70 different cuisines that you could learn how to cook or to serve. So I think moving forwards, I think it's a very, very bleak space for independence, in my opinion. especially in suburbia. It's pretty tough out here.
There's no doubt you have an amazing knack to create this energy and ambience in a dining room, and a real beautiful touch with food in the kitchen. Given your experience, not just of the last 2 years, but of running Pazar, how would you approach things differently as you move forward if and when you do another venue?
Wow. The game has changed so much. You know, I wasn't born into this. I've had to learn a lot along the way. You know, it just felt like it was easier before. It was easier to put food on a plate and serve it to people. Now there's so many more considerations that have to be made. You know, moving forwards, it's a really hard one to answer, mate. I just, you know, staffing is just a major issue at the moment. Whatever, I've got 1,000 ideas of what I'd like to do, but ultimately every one of them relies on a certain amount of skill or a minimum amount of labour to help out. And then, you know, I reflect on my travels, you know, through around the world, and especially, you know, I go back to thinking about Turkey, and they have these little standalone places where it's just an old guy on his own doing one thing and one thing well, and he's called a usta, which is, usta means a master, and that's it. And he does that one thing, and he goes and he has a certain amount that he'll do each day. He'll sell and go home, and he's happy. And, you know, he's been doing that for the last 50, 60 years. There's something very romantic in that notion. There's something, you know, kind of that really draws me towards that. However, it's impractical. But you know, who knows? I think it's very hard to make any firm decisions at the moment, just because the environment is, there's so many unknowns at the moment out there, and it's really hard to kind of move forward. You know, usually when we're looking, I mean, just the cost of produce. Forget about finding labour now, but even just the cost of produce alone, you know, putting food on a plate, and as generous as we are in our portion sizes, we can't really scale that back at the moment, because that just wouldn't be Pazar. You know, if you came in and you got half the size of what you're used to getting, and I don't want to compromise on that at the moment. So I think moving forward, you've just got to be a little bit smarter and a little bit more clever with what I want to do.
You've announced on Instagram that it's kind of a final tour for Pazar. Does it feel like a bit of weight off your shoulders and a bit of relief? And are you enjoying this kind of last hurrah for the time being?
Yeah. I'm calling it the farewell tour. Much like John Farnham, I'm hoping, you know, we can do a few farewell tours in the future. You know, maybe Pazar will be reborn. You know, look. Yeah, it's been overwhelming. It's been humbling. The comments and the outpouring of emotion and support has been amazing. And my team are also so proud of what we've done and what people are saying. People are booking. Sydney loves a closing. We've got a lot of regulars, but a lot of people who've never been before are booking, which is great to see. You know, the comments heard at the pass, oh, we've never been before, and we're finally glad we finally got here. And it's like, oh, you know, like it's just we want to continue. It's not that we don't want to close. So it's been great as a one-man operator. As far as the management team goes, I'm doing the social media, the reservations, still running the kitchen, you name everything. So it's been a little bit of a logistical cluster fuck for the last 4 or 5 days. I haven't really moved away from the computer that much, but it's working, and hopefully we'll have some nice, smooth, fun services between now and the 10th of September when we call time.
There's still spaces left to get that sort of last meal at Pazar?
Yeah, there is. There's still some spaces left. We are capping it just because we don't want to go stupid with it, and also, we don't want these last weeks to be stressful, and we want to really just enjoy our time in the kitchen and enjoy serving the people. So, it's the first time we're doing a set menu and set menu only for everyone. But it's honestly the only way we can do it as a three-man team at the moment. So we'd love to do a la carte. It's not possible. But there'll be an abundance of food. So if you are coming, wear your stretchy pants.
Well, you've enriched so many people's lives, including my own. I had a birthday there once, as you know, because I love your food. Sort of looking back at Pazar, what's a beautiful thing that you've taken from this experience that you've had? I'm just confused all the time. It still doesn't hit me. When you say, when I read reviews and when you've been in, people like yourself who are huge respect in the food scene, and even every night when people come past the pass, and that's probably the most rewarding thing, is because we've got an open kitchen. Pretty much everyone who comes in the restaurant has to walk past me and the team at some stage, and everyone who walks past, just about everyone has something beautiful and wonderful to say and thank us for the food. And I'm still surprised every time. I really, truly am that we were able to create this and that people love and enjoy what we do so much. And that's the most rewarding thing for me. And that's what I'll take away from it. But I'm still confused about it all. I really am, because I'm just the next cop, just slapping food on a plate. I'm not, it was never meant to be successful. I didn't even think it would be anything more than me just being able to provide for my family, pay the bills and live a very simple life, which I do live. Well, Attila, thank you for what you created, and look forward to seeing what does emerge after some time off. We've loved having you, as always, on Deep in the Weeds, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for your support over the years, and thank you to everybody out there who's listening that's been a part of Pazar. You've all made it what it is, so thank you.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.